money. It's incredibly important in this life, and it's inescapable. And God has something to say about money, and we're going to be looking here at Ecclesiastes chapter 5, but also Randy and I hopefully will hit on some other text about what is God's will for money. The key issue here today is kind of a negative. How can you not be hurt by money? Because Solomon says it right up in front. He says that he's seen a lot of people getting hurt 3,000 years ago. One of his famous statements from Ecclesiastes, nothing new under the sun. So this thing has endured. Randy, did you hear growing up, money can't buy you happiness?
Oh yes, but there are also people who thought it was really important. It was way ahead of whatever was in second place.
Randy had his little jab with that there, but the issue, I think that every generation has heard this, and I think most of us again would agree with it, but still people get hurt. So Solomon writes here in chapter 5 verse 13, there is a grievous evil that I've seen under the sun. Riches were kept by their owner to his hurt. And then he mentions riches that were lost in a bad venture. How many people have been in business for themselves and the business goes under? He says that's bad. But not just there, we see hurt going on all over life. I mean, how many families suffer because of money? The pursuit of it. Randy, what have you seen in your life?
Well, I've seen people who chase money and measure their prestige and wealth by how much they have and how much they've got invested and how it's growing, and they become consumed by that. I've seen people, you just said people that lose businesses, and I've seen families lose homes.
Right, people that go into foreclosure. But yeah, I think, why is it so powerful in life is that there's one way I think you just use it. You can use it as a measuring stick for your sense of self-worth. How do you know you're valuable? How do you know you're worthwhile? Because a lot of money has come your way, and as that money comes your way, that is a reaffirmation that we like what you're doing. You are doing something that the world appreciates. You have value. If you could hit, I don't know what the best baseball score is in the United States, or batting average. If you could bat 300, I don't think anybody can, or anybody has.
People get 300.
It's been
400,
done.
400 is a
400 throughout a whole season?
Possibility.
I mean, you're able to do that, you're very valuable. And what is going to come your way? Well, you're going to get a lot of love and adulation, but you're going to get money that says you are valuable. And we can get caught up into that my worth as a person is seen in my net worth. And that can hurt you.
I don't know if I like that. Yeah, if you can get a great batting average, you're a great quarterback, you're a high-scoring basketball player, you get the prestige of this athletic performance, which is also a gift. But what difference are you making in people's lives? I think that's where people can bring you value.
Well, right.
Positive difference in people's lives. And it's not just bragging rights over my team won. It's because tomorrow, what difference does that make? Nothing.
Well, yeah, but at one time, you're putting together something good. Los Angeles Dodgers have won this World Series this year, and a lot of people that got a lot of joy from that. But you can break it down to say, well, let's not look at the biggest thing. How about a fine meal? A chef puts together a fine meal, presented nice, cooked perfectly, quality foods from a farmer, and the value there is returned in what you would pay for the meal. And that the people on the other side could feel that value because of what you've given them. I mean, there are cars in the world that are handmade and not manufactured in production. Costs a lot of money. So I think that we seek in life value, and oftentimes we can seek it in our money. And what we're going to say here today, this is not God's plan for us. We do want to serve, and your service in your life can return in the value that you get back. We know people will gripe sometimes as well. A school teacher that's making a difference in a child's life is worth more than someone that can bat 300. But the rarity, the marketing, it's harder to find someone who can bat 300 than it is for a school teacher. That value is not always there, but we all, I think, want value.
Well, but I want to argue with you a little bit.
Let's
on
argue.
value.
That makes it interesting.
Well, but just for the context of discussion, value. We tend to set value on price or cost, but that's not necessarily the value. I mean, I used to be in the wine business, and people used to talk to me about wine and, how much wine was worth, and I said, price is not a measure of how good the wine is. I said, the quality has no relationship to price. They may correlate in some cases, but it's really what you like and not what I like. It's what you enjoy, and that may be a couple of dollars versus $100. So I think the same thing spreads throughout. The car, the handmade car, while people like it, it perhaps is beautiful and it has high performance ratings, it probably isn't something you can drive on the street every day.
No. I think, Randy, you brought up something here earlier, and that is prestige. That we seek prestige in life. People who have great wealth, I don't have the stats where this comes from, but check it out to see if it's true. People will say that have great wealth, their number one satisfaction they get is the honor that it brings them from others. And what does that say about us? And now, let's not get too far from the text here. Where does money begin to harm us? And it's not a bad thing to get vow or honor. It's not a bad thing to bat 300. It's not a bad thing to win the World Series. These are all gifts that are given to us. It's not a bad thing to rejoice that your team won. The question of life is where do we base our highest priorities on? Who's on the throne of your life, as some would say? Is it money or is it something else? People would argue number one idol of the world is money. And asking ourselves the question, what does money do for us? And it would be interesting, Andy. I know we've got to watch our talking too much. You put down that $150 bottle of wine and you put down a $10 bottle of wine, people know they like the 10, and the 100, that's not as good, okay? And you say, take which one you want. Which one would they take? The one they like or the $100 bottle?
Well, and that's interesting because I used that kind of an analogy in Nicaragua when I was talking to people. I have an abundance. And I'm just going to use 2 apples as the case. I've got 2 apples. One is this big, luscious apple. One of them is starting to wrinkle a little bit. Maybe it's a little smaller. But you don't have any apple. Should I keep them? Should I give you one? Should I offer you the choice of one? Which one do I give you, and which one would you take, having the choice? Or what should I do? And I told the people in Nicaragua, I said, give them the best one. And then you will love your neighbor. And it will and they will feel really good. They'll probably feel good if you just give them either apple.
And there are people who believe in God, who don't believe in God, who have found the joy of giving. That we are wired to love each other, to give to each other. Just got back from Japan, went out there to the fruit stands and saw some $30 melon. And we were thinking, what the heck is going on with a $30 melon? We talked to this guy that was there with us, a Japanese. He said, oh yeah, the Japanese will buy, they want the finest things, but those finest things are meant to give away. The $30 melon. And I'm sure there's a lot of people in Japan who found joy from that. And we want to get into here with Solomon, not to drift off course too far, that he talks about enjoying life. People who have an abundance learn to enjoy life by giving. What can happen to us on the other side of that is hoarding. And
So
hoarding
if I keep both apples, and what kind of joy is that for anybody?
Well, and that's where we get into harm. We don't want to harm ourselves by what God gives us. This is what Solomon is seeing, that, he says in the text here, we brought nothing into this world, we're not going to take anything out of this world, but we can get, I think, addicted to accumulation of wealth. Mm-hmm. And that can cause a problem. And for one, you can't enjoy because you can't give and you can't spend. You can enjoy a nice car. Why do you keep driving one that's breaking down all the time? Just replace it. You got the money in the bank, but you can't do it when you're addicted, because you can't part with the money out of your bank account to buy something, a new car. So there are people that can afford these things, and this is a gift from God for them. But once you take money and make that your security, make that your prestige, make that your value, then you're heading for harm.
So do I try, I hoard, I like that term hoard, but suppose I accumulate lots and lots and lots of stuff. Is it cash, or do I put it into commodities, cars? And so I have lots of cars. How do I protect my cars? I build a big barn of some kind to store my cars in.
Sounds like Jay Leno or something.
I sometimes admire that guy. They're beautiful. But look, what happens? A fire comes along and all my cars get burned up.
Well, and I think that's the point.
I'll get insurance.
Okay? You got insurance, but God gives you those things to enjoy. And I think that, bringing up Jay Leno, I remember he told a story one time of back in the day when they had VCRs, and he went out shopping with his father, and Jay Leno was doing very well with wealth, and he says, "Dad, let me just buy you that VCR." And Jay Leno laughed when he talked about his dad. His dad was, "Oh, no, 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 no. Dad, I'm an entertainer. I have plenty of money. I'd like to buy you this." That some people get so locked into that money and saving and being frugal that they cannot spend and enjoy. Where, Jay Leno could do that, but his father could not accept the gift, thinking I'm putting a burden on my son or something.
Well, yeah, okay.
Or
he might have been, I don't know what he's thinking. If I had the money, either that isn't what I'd buy. I might spend it on something else. I don't know, his father.
But being frugal, and I think keeping score. I think it's interesting here with verse 10. He who loves money will never be satisfied with money, nor he who loves wealth and his income. This also is vanity, that the loving of money, you can become addicted to just hold on to it, and it's all for nothing. Because Solomon will take us down and say, look, everything you get in this life, you're going to lose it. You came into this life naked, you're going to leave this life naked. And but the other issue of this is that, people who overspend, which is probably more of a problem. This is why they have in the United States is Dave Ramsey trying to help people to say, get the credit card back in your wallet. Stop spending more than you got, because you're bringing problems for your life. And so some people say, well, the problem today is people need to be frugal. They need to budget, and they need ... Well, not everybody does. There are people who have been blessed, and that, and we see this too. We're going to see this in Matthew chapter 25 with God, or the owner giving each one different amounts and expects them to put it to work. And the one who was the least faithful did not spend it. He was being frugal. He dug a hole in the ground and he said, here's your money back. I didn't lose any of it because I didn't put it to work. And that can be a problem too. And I think that's where you get into this holding on to it for security, as opposed to this belongs to God. I'm expected to get out and get to work with it. Responsibility.
So I thought about that earlier too. So you're given something, and we know the source of all things is the Lord himself, but you're given something, what do you do with it? And if you're given excess, what do you do with it?
Right.
And how do you balance those choices?
Right, it's a responsibility issue, you know, and the Bible tells us the more has been given, the more responsibility is given. To who has been given much, much more will be required. Kind of sounds like what the socialist thing of, from each from his abilities to each according to his needs type of thing. Maybe
It's
that's
communism.
That's communism, yes. But you already talked about it, and I think you're right, and God says you're right. That if you have much, you learn to give. You learn to use those resources, and you have a responsibility for those resources. And there are people who have a lot, and they feel the stress. I have to take care of my employees. I have to see to it that this organization is going to turn a profit. I'm going to pay for their health care. I'm going to see to it that they have their needs met. I got to take care of my clients who come in and use this business, and I got to take care of my people, so I've got a lot of stress there. Solomon might say, well, this is a great evil, that you're getting a lot of stress, but it doesn't have to be. I would argue that when God is in his proper place in our life, we can have a sense of peace and trusting in him.
Well, I was going to argue with you. I don't think that it has to be a lot of stress when you're given this wherewithal and responsibility to take care of your people and your business, to take care of your family, take care of your community, whatever. I don't think that it has to be stress.
It doesn't.
But I do think the responsibility makes you like the men who were given the talents in Matthew 25 and expected to do something with them. It does give you the responsibility of discernment, because you're going to have to make choices. You have to make choices. Opportunity A, opportunity B, opportunity C. Which one do I use, or do I do all three? And if I don't do one good enough, then maybe I don't get the return to help me do the other things. That could perhaps be stressful, but I think you have to just do your homework, see where you think it will do the most good in maybe the shortest time, or maybe in the long term, depending on what you're looking at, and find a way to make that happen.
Well, there's a stewardship element into this.
Yeah.
I see another key element, and that is a trusting in God.
Well, I do too.
And that, that you do have those issues where I've got a lot of responsibility, a lot has been given to me. You can see that that's been coming from God. I need to do these balancing things, and I'm not always going to be maybe sure about how I should do that. I have a responsibility not to live life in abundance for self, but I have other people, I have clients. Handing that over to God and having a sense of peace in the evening is good. How do you get God in your life? That's the key issue. And I think this is where we could take this whole thing in a new direction. We would say, there are people who've said, this is to be true, that the number one thing that people put before God is what he gives them. He says, pray for your daily bread. God gives daily bread. We say the daily bread is more important to me in my life than you, God. Putting the given. And here we go. When you foul up, when you catch this stuff going on in your life, when you begin to use money as your report card of life, your value, and it's all about, I need it for me, and you see, whoa, I've been putting what God has given me before him. God wants to take us to the cross. And I don't know how many people can make it through life without making money more important than God. I think there are people that they're just good. But a lot of us do. And that's why Jesus Christ died for us.
Well,
And that's why we are loved and forgiven in him. And it is that love and forgiveness where we find the power to let go And that can be scary because we can be addicted to money. And letting go to what we're addicted to can give us a lot of problems.
So in my personal experience, we all have. We've had times where things just seem to be going terrific. And then we've had times where things weren't going so well. In fact, they seem to be going downhill and stuff. And I find that when things are going well, really well, blessings are coming, it's kind of easy to push God out of my life. Things are going well, I don't consciously ever say, I don't need you, God. I mean, I don't say that. But somehow I just kind of push him aside a little bit. And that's when things start going bad for me. And, or make a turn. And that's because I'm not praying as much. I'm not doing this, and I'm not, relying on divine guidance, if you will. And so basically I pushed him out of the driver's seat and decided I can drive this thing. But when I wake up and put him back in the driver's seat, those things turn around because I operate, I think, with guidance, and I operate with different purpose.
And that's a very interesting point, because one of my big sticking points of my life is the issue of pain. Luke chapter 15 in the prodigal son. You want your inheritance? There you go. You go run from it. You ignore your father, but then life goes really bad. You come home, you find out you're loved. The key to all of this is Jesus Christ. We're going to mess up. Maybe we won't mess up. The point here is, in Ecclesiastes, I encourage you, check it out. Money can hurt you, but it doesn't have to. We can keep God on the throne. If we replace money, get God off the throne and put money in place of it, know that we can come back and that we are forgiven. It is great harm that can lead us to God, and we find out that we are loved and forgiven. And it is in that love and forgiveness that God empowers us. This last point here, we're almost at the end. He gives us the power to enjoy them. God has given wealth and possessions and the power to enjoy them. The power will come from a loving God in our life who brings us grace. And that means that I can get in my car, no matter what kind it is, and say, thank you, God. Now, I haven't done that, and maybe that's part of it. But this great power to enjoy life comes from God. We're not getting into prosperity gospel here or anything like that. It's just that God is going to love you. Keep him on the throne. God is behind all that we have. Thank him. Live a life of gratitude. And Randy, you brought up the importance of generosity here too. Learn to go. And I say in this church, don't give up on that, because if you're just giving because it's a habit and that's what you should do, okay, well, taking it to the next level of getting joy. At least I talk too much now. We got to get the gospel in here.
Well, of course.
The gospel is the love of God, not Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, by the way.
I think that life is a blessing. Money doesn't make you what you are. It's your heart and your passion, and the Lord, they're driving that, and the gifts that he gives you, use them for the best possible solution, and lean on him to give you those paths. I think that makes a lot of difference.
Okay, I say we could end right with what Randy said there. It's leaning on God, trusting in him, knowing that it could harm you, but God has a plan for us, and his plan is not to put money in the driver's seat of our life, but rather to put him in the driver's seat. And I hope it makes sense, and I hope that you got mostly the love of God. So thank you for being with us here today. Again, we want to just invite you, come and check out our website. There's other things on there for the curious. 1-2-minute clips of how God wants to make a difference with his grace and mercy in our life. There are Children's Corner there. There's our prayer partners. If you would like to have prayer, we have prayers in our service that we put out every week, which you've already done today. And if you'd like to be a part of that, if you'd like to be a prayer partner, you can too. Anyway, God's peace. Thanks for being with us. Hope this helped you. As we said before, keep the conversation going in your life with other people and money. It says a lot. Take care now.